All right, hey everybody. It's Jamming James, and it's late, 1:20 in the morning here. I was going to do this like about 11:30, and I kind of just took a nap. Anyway, I it was just the neighboring TV was blaring right up till just 5 minutes ago, and I thought I'd maybe get this in with that still blaring, and now that's not even blaring. So anyway, bear with me. Kind of all but whispering here. Um, Going to try to keep this short, so I'm not an ongoing nuisance with my late night noise here. The topic is parts. I've been rotating as I write my book for, um, among my four sections. First section is witnesses. The second section is parts. The third section is navigation, more or less, or navigational nuances, as I call it, and subtleties. And then section 4 is other nuances and subtleties, with sort of an emphasis on communication and um, timing. Um, anyway, I don't have a lot, but I kind of have a couple of discoveries, three or four, just between starting this section. 2 weeks ago, I made a video on witnesses, and now that after that video, I immediately changed to parts, and I've been working on this for 2 weeks. Right off the bat, on studying parts again, I came up with four things that were kind of like new to me. I made a little list here. And these are very exciting to me. I think all of this action is really in the Maldives. And I had a map of where the Maldives are to kind of refresh you here. This is a map of the Kuala Lumpur area. This flight, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, originated from Kuala Lumpur, took off for Beijing, China, kind of across the Sea of Thailand, and this is like Vietnam, and then on up to, was going to go to Beijing, China up here, but instead it disappeared 10 years ago and is still missing. Parts have been found. This map doesn't really include that, like way down in Africa, there was parts along the east coast of Africa and Madagascar and so forth. And there's some parts that were found in the Maldives, which are kind of maybe a bit more questionable. They've, the authorities have pretty much said that almost for certain, the ones in the East African and Madagascar area are, and there's sort of like a rejection of authenticity for Maldives, where the authorities are saying, yeah, they're not, those aren't parts from this flight. They were saying that there were witnesses that said that they saw the plane flying low around here, and the authorities like immediately rejected this information, saying no, that that wasn't the flight that they were seeing. And I guess that witnesses have really kind of come forward and have been talking about this ever since, and so it's getting to be sort of more of a fact that these people really seem to have seen the Malaysian Airlines flight that was missing flying around low in this area. They describe it by color and markings and so on. I think at least color patterns of it. So back to my little list here. This is mostly Maldives area. A second Flaperon was found, and oddly, it was found right after the first. The first one really made the news. Like about maybe 2 years after the flight went missing, it showed up on Madagascar, I think it was. We're near Madagascar, island called Reunion, with barnacles on it and so on. And like just to, I don't remember the exact timing to it, but I think that it was like within about maybe 6 months later or something like this, the second Flaperon showed up on the Maldives. And that one didn't really make the news at all. I'm just learning about this one now. And this is kind of tied into the fourth, where people have said that if these parts are authentic on the Maldives, it really changes the game, because the authorities were thinking that the airplane somehow went way down south, almost to Antarctica, and ended up crashing or landing into the South Indian Ocean off the coast of Perth. And they're saying that if these parts are indeed parts from the flight in the Maldives area, that the flight just couldn't have been down there. People, the oceanographers kind of don't think that there's any way that these parts could have like raced down there or something like that, or they or raced up here, I guess, from that without something or another, without getting there way later than they did or something like that. So that's kind of the first big one. These two are about the same thing. I'm coming to realize it. The second Flaperon being found there was a game changer. I did one already, at least one on the fire bottle that was found there. This one was found just like 2 weeks after the airplane went missing, but the authorities have sort of rejected it, that maybe it's not even an aircraft part, that it's just some sort of bottle. But I think so some people, experts like engineers, have kind of like disagreed with that a little bit. So I'll spare you on the details on that. What did I say on it? Fire became internet famous. Oh, this was the new thing. I hadn't heard this at all. That the I guess right after the fire suppression bottle was found, it became famous on the internet. And people sort of made the jump to conclusions that if the bottle was found on the Maldives, then the airplane must have crashed in the vicinity of the Maldives. And I think if you've been watching my things, I'm really kind of thinking that the aircraft maybe landed or crashed on the ocean. Not here's the Maldives way over here, but just right up in this area here, just not too far from Phuket, Thailand, in the South Andaman Sea area, kind of near the Andaman Islands. That was kind of the subject of last one with the witnesses. There was a lady that said she saw it from an airline flight that was kind of flying kind of across this way down to Kuala Lumpur, and there was somebody in a boat fishing, a group of guys that said that they saw it from the boat and were going to head out and find it, but they didn't have enough gas and the weather was too bad and whatnot. So anyway, what haven't I covered on the list? Okay, finally, this is also the Maldives, and I think much later than the fire bottle, which was just 2 weeks after the crash, maybe a year or two after. It would have to have been, because the first Flaperon was found like about 2 years after the plane went missing, and then the second Flaperon was found just soon after that. So it was like two and a half years or something like that after it went missing. The second Flaperon was found, and it was described as looking pretty much like the first, but with no barnacles, and so on. So I'm researching that, and the authorities, I guess, have rejected it, and the part has been turned over to the authorities in the Maldives, which has now disappeared. They seem to just be trying to sort of like hide this, destroy the evidence or whatnot, and just tell the world that, that no, it wasn't from that flight, kind of thing. Finally, this piece, I think, must have come about the same time or a little bit later than that on the Maldives. A piece that had this lettering on it, TIC, on the corner. And I just got through making this a minute ago, and I spent some time before I kind of fell asleep earlier. I was going to do this at about 11:30 p.m., and I was looking on the internet to see if I could find this picture to kind of photograph it to put on one of my displays on a tablet, or I guess this is on my cell phone. It would have had been on one of my two tablets. So I ended up just kind of drawing it because I couldn't find it again. But it looked kind of like this. I just made this shape up kind of from kind of memory, but it's certainly not exactly this shape. But I remember it kind of being like maybe about like this, where the T was kind of like about like that, and TIC. And then there kind of were these pock marks here that didn't look like they were completely holes in it, but sort of dents, like somebody, like shot it with a BB gun or something like that. And there were just some dents in it. And I've been meaning to kind of come back and look at that. I was going to kind of show it to you and kind of put forth those pock marks. Because in a video, maybe about 3 or 4 or 5 of these ago, I did one kind of speculating a little bit that the aircraft may have had a fire perhaps on the right engine, because somebody described kind of like fire coming out of the right side of the aircraft, which sort of implies maybe the right engine. And then it lost radio contact, and another flight, Malaysian Airlines flight 17, was crashed in like Ukraine or somewhere like that. Actually, just after this, both of these in like 2014, and it was thought to have been shot down by a missile, or this fancy missile kind of came in. I guess a heat seeker missile, kind of launches, starts coming to the hot engine or whatever. And when it gets close, it starts to kind of like pick up, like by radar, the side of the plane here, or parts of the plane, and it starts like shooting shrapnel out when it's doing that. And so in this case, it was definitely the left side of the aircraft, the MH370, where that they kind of like reconstructed all the parts back into what kind of looks like the plane. And you can kind of see that this whole area of the fuselage is all puck marked. It looks like somebody shot it with a machine gun, but they're saying those aren't machine gun holes. They're saying that they're shrapnel holes from the missile, or the missile kind of comes along towards the engine and it starts shooting all this stuff into the fuselage, then hits the engine and takes out the wing, and the whole airplane falls to the ground, and so forth. And so I'm sort of kind of guessing, but there's a big flaw in my um, argument, in that, to lose radio contact and to have witnesses say that they saw the aircraft on fire for long periods of time, like the engine was like blowtorching, um, that maybe the same kind of missile came up on this side, so there's fire coming off the right side of the plane, and it loses radio contact because the missile does all that machine gunning into this area and shoots out the radio compartment, and it goes dead. What doesn't jive is that all these people, 247 of them, would have had cell phones, and it in all likelihood, most of the plane wouldn't have been shot by the shrapnel. So all these people in this part of the plane and on the left side of the plane would have been just fine, well, alive anyway, and cell phone. They could have been using their cell phones, and the captain too, even, and so forth. Maybe it took out the first officer, and maybe some of the people on the side of the plane or something like that. The flaw is the cell phones, and I'm kind of learning. At first, they were saying that there was no cell phone movement, communications, and I'm slowly kind of learning that there were some calls from the passengers to kin, and the kin missed the calls, and they're regretting that they missed the calls and so on. But there was sort of an effort, but it was only from like 2 or something like that. But the way this is going, it seems like the more I study things, it'll go from 0 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to the whole flight or something like that. So stay tuned on that part. But all I'm saying is this. Oh yeah. If TIC, and if you don't know planes, this might be like totally new to you. If you know planes, you might be able to guess where I'm going with this. But this is what planes often have on them. They have like this little hole in the side of the plane for an instrument, called a static port. And then there's often sort of like a circle around it. These are often sort of like indented, where this would be, it's almost like a silver dollar with a hole in the middle of the silver dollar that's kind of like glued to the side of the plane. There's a hole on the inside of the plane with the hose kind of connected to it, and it goes to the instruments. It often says, right next to it, static, and so on. So I'm basically thinking that this might be kind of the side of the fuselage. I drew it one more time here, where this is what you'd see. Like if you were the pilot and you were doing your walk around, you go down the steps or out the jetway, come down to like this engine down here, and you check like the left side of the nose, then the point of the nose, then this landing gear here, and you come up onto the right side of the plane here, and you kind of see this. You see kind of this little kind of hole in the side of the plane with a circle around it, and it says static. You check that and make sure that there's no blockage to the static port, and then you kind of go off and check this engine, and then you go check this wingtip and that aileron and this tail, and come back around your walk around and that kind of thing. So I'm saying that they may have like a small piece of the plane right about here, and it has these puck marks on it. And I kind of predicted that we might be seeing kind of holes in the side of the plane here, and that's kind of close. So anyway, I'm kind of like trying to find my way back to that part to kind of study it some more, and I was trying to do that for you earlier this evening, and I just couldn't find that part again. I have the kind of source to look it up, but I just was too tired at the time. I just guess I needed that little nap. So anyway, I'll finish up with this all shut off. I had my source, the main one, to kind of help you find it if you want to do that. And I'm going through my internet here to see if I remember how to do that. I thought it was going to just stay on it, but because I didn't get to it right away, it shut down. And I had it all turned right to, oh good, it did stay to that page. This is chapter 6 of my book here. Shoot, it's in writing mode, so I can't really touch it here. But exterior SC is subchapter 1, Flaperons. I just changed it this 2-week work session to plural, Flaperons, because I didn't even know that there was a second Flaperon even being talked about until this period. And so on. Part 1, barnacles. Is this really what? Yeah, this is the source here. This Richard Shears and Imogen Calderwood, August 10, 2015, and their title is Has MH370 Debris Washed Up in the Maldives? ? Investigators examine items found where locals say they saw a low-flying jet on the day the plane vanished. And then I was there on reading this on 31 July 2013, 25th. 20, I got that wrong. That should be 2023. I have to go back and change that. From this site, https www.dailymail.co.uk. That's also, that same article is the one that has those pictures, if I can find them again. I'm pretty sure that if you go to that, you'll see sort of a picture that looks like this, talking about that part. And they don't mention anything that it might be static, like they've never even heard of the term static port or something. And even people that don't fly or anything, I think people generally know about that. And non-flying people probably know a little bit about static ports, and they've seen videos of pilots walking around, checking their static ports and stuff. So that's about it. I got quite a bit done on the book this time. I don't know if that's going to stay in there. This graphic is one I just have in here. I just haven't had the heart to take it out. It takes up a lot of space. These are what those fire suppression bottles look like in a Boeing 777 schematic. If it is indeed the case, it's basically this kind of sphere with kind of these little things that kind of stick off on them, and they kind of like are hooked together, and go up to like the cockpit, I think, to control them and give information. I guess that would be, like if you're gonna, get an alarm that there's a fire in the cargo bay, you then turn on the fire extinguisher to to put out the fire, kind of thing. Okay, that's it. I managed to get this in. I hope I don't get in trouble for being so noisy so late in the night. Anyway, I hope you like this. Please subscribe, thumbs up, and comment. I'd love to hear your comments and so forth, and so on. Maybe even use them in my book, and so on. Anyway, thank you. Have a good day. So long. James out.